Hello, good afternoon, and welcome once again to your Wealth Class on Lagos Television. I'm Abayomi Obabulujo. Today is indeed a special episode of this program because we are going to be looking or treating a topic that I think is very important to the entire nation. Of course, we'll still do our regular market analysis and Forex, all things being equal. But you see, I believe basically that if a woman is empowered, the entire family will be empowered. And when individual family in the country is empowered, then the nation generally would be empowered. So today we'll be devoting some time to look at how the women folk will or can be empowered. So if you are a man and you are watching, you sure have women all around you. You would definitely have a mother or a sister, either younger or older. You might also be married. You might just help invite the women folk, the women all around you, to get connected to this platform so that the information could just get to them straight and direct. So we go straight to seeing what obtains on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, today being the first trading session for the week. We will need to remember that this month ends the third quarter of the year 2018. So telling you in advance what we're going to be doing on this platform from next week. We're going to be looking at the possibilities in the third quarter results that will be released to the market, because you see, third quarter report, as far as I'm concerned, is about the most important results of the four that by regulation a quoted company should release to the market, in the sense that it stays a lot longer than all other results before we see another result. What am I trying to say? When a company brings first quarter report, we know that in another 3 months, the second quarter report should hit the market. When a company releases the second quarter report, we sure know that in another 3 months, plus or minus, when there are no issues, except if the half year is audited, that is when there could be delay in the release of the second quarter. Otherwise, it should hit the market within 3 months period. But when you talk about the third quarter, after the release of the second quarter, it hits in another 3 months. So before the end of October, as a matter of fact, by the middle of October, results will have started trickling in to the market. And by the last trading day in October, there should be a lot of results in the market. But we are not going to see audited report until probably February. If we see anyone at all that comes in very early, it should be around January. And so you are talking about complete 4 months. And in some cases, it could come around March. That is complete 6 months. Some could even extend far beyond that. And in the third quarter report, when you look at it very critically, you will be able to see possibilities of what quoted company will be able to do in the audited account. And that is the one that often comes with benefits to investors. So we're going to be taking our time to analyze the possibilities of third quarter earnings that will be released to the market from next week on this platform, all things being equal. So far, so good. This trading session, the All-Share Index of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is down 1.10%, and virtually all other indicators, major indicators, that is talking about the sector indicators, equally down. And this include NSE 30 it is down 1.32%. NSE 50 is down 1.51%. NSE Banking is down 0.81%. NSE Corporate Governance down 1.65%. NSE Consumer Goods down 3.66%. NSE Industrial Index flat. NSE Insurance down 2.57%. NSE Lotus down 2.22%. NSE Mainboard down 1.90%. NSE Premium Index down 0.21%. NSE Pension down 0.62%. So you could see again, as usual, that NSE Pension and NSE Premium Index are currently performing better than the general market. So far, so good today, being the first trading session in the new week. So we look at the equities that are emerging on the gainers chart. Of course, we still have relatively 2 hours plus or minus before the market eventually closes today, so there are still lots of possibilities. But of course, we'll still continue to review market activities while we are on set here before we eventually round off at about 1:30. So far so good. Mutual Benefit Assurance is leading the market with 7.41% growth, while Peak Insurance is second with 5.13% growth. University Press is up 4.17%. MPF Microfinance actually was one of those equities that emerged as best performer for last week. We are soon going to see the way the market performed last week, and we arrive at what were factors that were responsible for the kind of performances we saw in the market last week. So for today, NPF Microfinance Bank PLC is, as at now, doing a growth of 3.13%. Custodian Investments PLC is down 1.89%. Transcorp is marginally up 0.84%. FBNH is also currently up marginally 0.56%. You know, there are always two ends, two sides to a coin. So when you talk about the market, there cannot be gainers and there are not losers. So the equities that are currently on top of the gainers chart, anything can still happen. So until 2:30. So what we are saying now is just what the market is doing at this point in time. All right. So as at now, Continental Reinsurance is down 10%. Meanwhile, for the entire of last week, Continental Reinsurance was one of those equities that led the market. It grew 16.79%. So today alone, it is shedding 10% of that. Nestle is outstandingly the highest priced equity on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. As at today, it is selling at 1,355 naira after it lost 145 naira, which comes to 9.67%. Anything is still possible between now and 2:30 when the market closes for today. Japan is down 7.69%. I've said about Japan, the company, when you look at the book value, is in negative. So, but you see, the market is dynamic, and the market does not necessarily need to follow my opinion or decision. All right. But the truth of the matter is that the stock is still listed. The company is not dead, though the book value is in negative, the assets in negative, but people bought it high, and so the stock is still trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. But what I will not hesitate to say is that in this type of market, where there are a lot other good companies, but that are selling at relatively cheap prices, you should look away from stocks of companies that you really cannot you cannot explain the reason as to why the prices are moving. You are not expecting any dividend. You are not even expecting a good result, and then the price is moving up. Okay, well, what you should do is to discount such price performance and focus your attentions on good companies whose stocks are currently selling cheap because of the situation around the market. We are in a bear market. There's no doubt about it. And when we are in a bear market, what you should take the time to do is to refocus your portfolio. You see, I have said many times that equities are just like beautiful women, all right? But one thing we know is that beauty naturally will diminish over time with age. But you see, that is price. When you talk about the fundamental of a woman, you look beyond the beauty, you look at the attitude, the character, and some innate abilities in the woman. Those can only grow with time. So when you see this type of bear market, you look for fundamentals. When you see the prices of some good equities declining, you ask yourself, are their results that are coming in, are they bad? Are they getting better? If your answer is that the results are getting better, you simply go and invest in such and wait. There are times you might need to buy, and when eventually the prices of such equities come lower, then you buy more. All right? So let's look at what the market did last week, and with that, we will also give you a list of cheap stocks as we speak. So we go together, and this should appear on the screen. For last week, Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC led the market. In 1 week, it grew 26.67%. Just 8 kobo appreciation fetched the stock 26.67% appreciation. I've just told you about Continental Reinsurance, and you don't compare Continental Reinsurance with Consolidated Hallmark. Consolidated Hallmark will need to beef up its capital to begin to operate in a better tier. You know, as we speak now, I think the whole exercise will be completed this Friday by NICOM. There is the classification of insurance stocks, and that's why, as we speak, we should expect a lot of activities in many of them, just like what happened in the banking sector when Professor Soludo back in days told them to recapitalize. In this case, NICOM is not actually telling them to recapitalize per se, but NICOM has only said that you can only handle a volume of businesses that are directly proportional to your solvency level and also your capitalization, your shareholders fund. So there are in, I think, 3 tiers or so: tier A, tier B, tier C, or tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So if you are in tier 1, you will be able to handle any form of insurance business at all. If you are within tier 2, you might not be able to handle oil and gas, you might not be able to handle aviation, all right, and some other critical big ticket businesses in insurance. But if you are in tier 3, well, only God helps us. So we might see a situation whereby there would be strategic investment in some of them, and so we expect to see improving activities, particularly in price, in some of those insurance equities. Am I, because of that, telling you to buy? Well, you wait until there is information. You can also be rest assured that the information we will not share will just be the information we do not have on this platform. So you stay connected, and we continue to give you information as you require. So as you see now, within the first 10 best performer on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange last week, you could see Consolidated Hallmark, you can see Continental Reinsurance, you can see Cornerstone. There are some others, but because of our time and space, these are the few that I can touch on here. But you see, in the case of Continental Reinsurance, it is not a direct insurance company, but it is a reinsurance, so its own capitalization is not affected. So Continental Re is not under any pressure to recapitalize. So C&I Leasing, I've told you here that C&I Leasing, there are good and positive information about them. They are coming to the market with the right issue. That naturally should make the price, in a way, go up. But again, they have announced that there is going to be share reconstruction. Share reconstruction, as far as Abayomi Obabulijo is concerned, is fraud. All right? And that is much that I say. Why did I say so? You only make money if you ever allowed this, if you allow this to happen, that a stock is going to reconstruct its shares and you are holding the stock until the reconstruction is done. The only way you gain is if the price of that equity continues to rise. If for any reason the price of that stock declines, what you will see is a situation whereby you will be losing that than how much you would ordinarily be losing, right? That the equity did not reconstruct its share. That is why I feel that it is more or less fraudulent. Okay, so that to me is negative, and so you will see the price fluctuating in the market. Skybank, I can't remember the last time we saw any result at all from Skybank. However, the market will always do what it wants to do. It now becomes your own responsibility to ask yourself, am I okay? Do I go ahead and buy, even when I do not know what is happening in that organization? That is for Skybank. Cornerstone Insurance PLC grew 12.50% last week, but again, it came down to 20 kobo, all right? And then there was the board restructure and all those. Well, we see how far it can go, and we wait to see if this is sustainable. MPF Microfinance, also, so far so good today, is one of those highest or best performing equity. So let's look at the general market last week, and there's one little information that I would need to pass there. Market capitalization was down 2.33%. All share index down 2.33%. Gainers down. That is, the number of gainers were lower last week when compared with the previous week, 10.81%. Losers also increased, 39 last week against 34. Where I actually want us to dwell for a few seconds is the number of unchanged equity, and you see them at 98 as against 69. It means that some of the prices we saw last week, where these equities were actually saying that no, they are tired of further coming down further, so they began to resist losses. And what shows us that is that some of those equities I've shown you on this platform as being cheap, because they were actually selling at their lowest price for the year, had started recovering. And so, not that they are still not cheap, they are still cheap, but they are no longer dwelling within the level where they were before last week. And so last week the market was a lot better, but for some equities that had weight on the index, the market will probably have ended positively. All right, so let's quickly go to the list of equities now that I consider as cheap, and I will tell you why, though we really do not have so much of time to explain that. And that's why you should always buy StockSwatch weekly newspaper. It's there on the vendor. So let's look at the few that I can capture, all right, for the time we've got here today. The first is Access Bank. Although I can see that Access Bank actually opened trading today on the floor of the stock exchange at 9 naira 5 kobo, but as we speak now it's selling at 9 naira, which is its year's low, the lowest price so far so good this year. And the question that we should ask ourselves is that why is the stock selling at its year's lowest? Is it that the earnings that is being released to the market, is it that it is poor? It came in improvement in the bottom line, improvement in the earnings, improvement. We were expecting 20 kobo dividend, for goodness sake. It brought 25 kobo. And so in all this, the earnings are not declining, the PE ratio not declining, the book value getting better, then the price is selling at 9 naira as against 14 naira and above where we have seen it within this year. The stock is cheap. Why? The PE ratio keeps reducing. If they are able to maintain the second quarter report at audited account, you'll be seeing PE ratio of probably less than 4 in any market. When you see that kind of equity, you buy and you hold on to it, and you bought and you held on, and the price comes lower, you wait again and you buy more. For goodness sake, when you get to a restaurant, the food that cost you 2 naira before and they are now offering at maybe 1 naira, what do? You buy for yourself, you buy for your wife, you buy for everybody. All right, that is just the principle of life. Guarantee is currently lower than its years. It's currently lower. It's currently dwelling around its lowest price for the year. There was a significant improvement in their second quarter report, and they are not closing any branches. If anything, they are operating well, they are operating fine. No negative information about that. When you see the price of such equity declining, for goodness sake, you go and buy. And if you go back to 2008, when the market crashed, within the period we have seen a Guarantee at a relatively low price. Was it 9 naira if I'm not mistaken? But it rebounded. And in the banking sector, Guarantee remained the first equity that actually recovered fully to the price it was selling as at 2008 February, when the market started declining. When you see the equity again selling at this price, for goodness sake, you have nothing to fear investing in it. If you go to buy, quote me anywhere that Obabulu just said you should buy. I stand by that. Guinness, Nigerian breweries, you might look at it that their prices are high, but again, they are selling at their year's lowest. Looking at their book value, yeah, they are cheaper than they used to be. But again, if you look at those in the financial sector, they are a lot cheaper. But Guinness and Nigerian breweries are lower. So if you have the money, why not? UBA is selling at 7 naira 90 kobo. If I'm not mistaken, even today, UBA has still declined further. Go invest in UBA. Why? The earnings keep improving, and then the projections very positive. I've told you on this platform, there was a time UBA came to as low as 1 naira 80 kobo or thereabout, right? But if you had bought then, I don't know, even till now, what percentage will you be calculating for yourself? That is the way the stock market works. And then Zenith, very attractive at a price of 20 naira 90 kobo. I'm not saying that the prices of these equities, as I've mentioned, cannot come lower. But even if you go to buy quite a number of them and their prices come lower, it will just be an opportunity for you to buy more. That's what I call classic approach to equity investment in good and bad times. And this will show you the seasons and the times in the market. I related this with the way life is, right? Now, there is no man, no woman that continues to grow tall. If we all continue to grow tall since we were born, for goodness sake, the oldest man on earth will be taller than a mountain Kilimanjaro. But the way it works is that at the time you stop growing in height, but you begin to grow in wisdom and in some other areas of life. We try as much as possible to relate with this, with the stock market. You need to understand market season. You will need to know how to invest in a bad in a bad time and in the good time in the market, and you will know the classification of stocks in a bad time. There are stocks that are bad in a bad time, and there are stocks that are good for you to buy in a bad time. And that is why you must go and get StocksWatch weekly newspaper today. I'm the publisher by the grace of God, and I've done it for almost 18 years. When it comes to information on stocks, empowerment for women, empowerment for children, empowerment for you, retiree, that is outstandingly the best newspaper in Nigeria. Oh, someone is saying, because it's the publisher, for goodness sake, I'm the publisher, and I'm so sure I know what is in there. If you got any newspaper and you compare with StocksWatch and they are better in content than StocksWatch, bring the two paper to me. I will multiply the price at which you bought StocksWatch by 5. I will be right back. When I resume, we will be looking at empowerment for women.